You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? I'm Tucker Franklin. That's Kent Swanson. This is KCSN Update. Let's watch a little bit of highlights while I tell you about our friends at DraftKings. The NFL playoff action continues. We're one step closer to Super Bowl 57, and for the NFL divisional round, check out DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Plus, all new and existing customers can take a shot at an even bigger payout with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Boost your NFL winnings with each leg you add up to 100%. I love doing the stepped-up same-game parlays. I've been doing the anytime touchdown score parlays. They're always fun, and you always got a chance, as BJ Kissel says. And here's what you got to do. You got to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KCSN. New customers can bet just $5 on the NFL divisional round and get $200 in free bets instantly only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for details. All right, Kent, thanks for joining me on today's KCSN Update. I believe this is your second time on KCSN Update?
I think, yeah. I should have like a count of all of them, but I'm sorry, I don't.
I do try to keep a track of who all I have on Thursday updates because they rotate. It's not like BJ's where I have a bunch of people on. I think I've had Seth on once. I've had I think I've had the whole Times Ours podcast on KCSN Update. Joshua Briscoe a few times, frequent flyer, Matt Hamilton, but now Kent, you are now a recurring guest on KCSN Update.
Two-Timers Club.
Two-Timers Club. How are you doing? How are you enjoying this beautiful scene that we have in Las Vegas?
I am just excited that we're doing this face-to-face right now.
Yes.
We got Maddie Lane behind camera here. We got all of our buddies here hanging out at the Speakeasy in the Luxor. We're going to have a ton of prospects that we're going to be running through here, talking to them and getting all kinds of really great perspectives from them for draft season. So I love being here, man. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. We're going to have a ton of content, obviously, coming from here, from the Luxor, from the East-West Shrine Bowl. Got great access here. Super excited for that. You probably won't see a lot of that content coming out this week, but we will have some content that you'll be able to see this week. We're going to talk a lot about the Chiefs and Bengals. Obviously, a big game coming up this weekend, and I got a couple of takeaways, Kent, that I want to talk about some things from these press conferences on, what day is today? Thursday?
Yes.
Let's talk about Thursday press conference. They had a walkthrough, then they had press conferences, then they had practice. Obviously, we're going to start off Patrick Mahomes' ankle. No real new updates from anyone there. They said Patrick Mahomes, everything is working out fine. I believe, actually, Andy Reid, this is what Patrick Mahomes said on his mobility and throwing on the move. I feel like I can still do a lot of things. We'll see as the week progresses and what happens in the game. I know that was kind of a big topic of discussion of how his mobility is going to be affected with his ankle. Yeah,
and I think that's one of the big questions about if he's able to operate in with some mobility, that's a game changer for him. Right. And that doesn't absolve the offensive line from having to step their game up, as Andy Reid mentioned in his press conference on I believe it was Wednesday. Mm-hmm. But just having a little bit more mobility could be a real big factor for him. He's not going to go out and be what he was early on in that Jacksonville game where it looked like he was about to have an all-time performance. Yeah. He was absolutely on one before that injury, but just a little bit of mobility is going to go a long way for him in being able to carry this football team to the Super Bowl. So it'll be interesting to see how much mobility he has, but I'm still confident regardless. I feel good about him and his outlook and what he's been able to do to this point with the limited. I mean, everybody's overanalyzing him walking down steps right now, and it's great.
You had Pat McAfee throwing it up on the big board, breaking it down on his show. Yeah. You've got people all over the place. I think there was BJ Kissel said Harold Kuntz's video, 32,000 Twitter views.
Yeah.
People care about this
steps
about the steps and the way Patrick is walking. There's videos of him jogging at practice, so people are overanalyzing. Jogging, nevertheless, 50 yards away. This is where the video is being taken. So, we can break all this stuff down. But this is obviously a big thing, and Nick Leckie brought this up on Outside the Trenches. I want to get your thoughts on this, Kent. Do you think this is almost? It's hard to say this is a blessing for the Chiefs, but do you think this is a little bit of a way for the Chiefs staff to kind of hit a reset and kind of think a little bit more about the offense going into this Bengals game? Is, if Mahomes is healthy, if he makes it all the way through that Jacksonville game, he does have that all-time performance. They I'm not going to say they coast into the to the Cincinnati game because it's a big matchup. But is it a time where they can actually look back, reassess, and see what more they can do with this offense?
I think it can be a good thing for both sides of the football, honestly. Just because I think the gravity of the situation for the rest of this football team is just it's so heavy because we know that Patrick Mahomes is not going to be able to operate at 100%. So yeah, we talk about, I think everybody just has this different kind of focus, and it's not necessarily, the same kind of mentality that you might have had before the game where, I think there's so much context to this game because the Chiefs are 0-3 against the Bengals and Patrick Mahomes against Joe Burrow. They're the confidence level that they might be rolling in with it. There might be a little bit of, arrogance or, at times too, because of some of this stuff. So like, there's just all kinds of I think the mentality for this football team is just elevated just because they know that they've got to pick Patrick Mahomes up the way he's kind of build this team out in so many different situations. I think the entirety, offensively, yes, you're going to see this team have to be a little bit more intentional with some things, and you're going to see the offensive line get called out and kind of, hey, I think you heard Andy kind of say they're going to have to step their game up. Right. So there's a lot of benefit to it in some ways. Yeah. That's a weird way to say it, but I think that just requires the rest of this football team to step up. It's
an interesting conversation to have because it does seem weird to say. It's just kind of putting a positive spin on this injury.
Yes. Right? It's not. It's you would still rather just have yes. status quo and the best player on the field and all that stuff. You still probably are going to have the best player on the field, but
yeah. Good news though, Andy Reid did say there's no new injury reports from this. So I mean, even McCole Hardman, we'll see when the injury report comes out later today. At the time of recording this podcast, not out yet. But Coach Reid did say on McCole Hardman, they're just going to take it day by day. He's busting his tail. We'll see how it rolls. So excited to see maybe McCole Hardman with Kadarius Toney on this offense. I know we kind of talked about that last week and everything. I'm excited to see just how this offense evolves in general. And Patrick Mahomes even said some stuff. The weight training stuff with Bobby Stroop, he mentioned they do a lot of preventative stuff, done a lot of ankle, knee, foot and stuff after my past injuries. I think it's prepared me a lot to bounce back here and be in a good spot. And I think that is a big thing too is guys, Nick Lucky even mentioned he's had ankle injuries in his career. Former NFL players have talked about ankle injuries that after the game, they're on boots, they're on crutches. Patrick Mahomes had none of that, which is kind of crazy with looking at the injury that it was and how it didn't have that big of an impact on his walk, but it had an impact on his game because if you go back and watch the breakdown, they broke down some of the clips of him doing some pretty incredible stuff off of pretty much one leg, creating power off of that left foot in positions where he shouldn't be able to create power off of that left foot.
And that goes back to some of the stuff they do with Bobby, Bobby Stroop and some of his training as well, because you talked about just flexibility through the ankles and all that stuff, but they're throwing from wonky platforms at all times. And I think that's another little factor there that you kind of take into consideration is this guy he's been programming his body to be able to account for all kinds of different things that are going to happen through, an NFL season. And this is just another one of those prime examples. I made a joke we're gonna find out that Patrick Mahomes' ankles are made from an element that hasn't been discovered yet.
Yeah.
And I mean the bounce back that we've seen to this point is pretty impressive.
It's incredible, just his ability to recover from injuries, even the toe injury playing through in the Super Bowl, which it's insane. The knee, everything. The further we get away from that knee injury, the crazier stories that we hear from that. He was even talking about it on this podcast. But
this isn't even the first time that we've seen Patrick Mahomes play on a high ankle.
Right.
It's just I don't know. It's amazing. It's amazing what he's able to do, and I expect good things from him.
Well, as we're recording this podcast, James Palmer, friend of the program, just tweeted out a video of Patrick Mahomes today. Giving us a spin. So he had a spin at practice.
Wow.
Doing a little twirl. I'm watching it live. As he tweeted it out, he's really showing off for the camera.
Can you replicate that for us? Can we get a look here?
Well, hang on. Oh, he's doing a little skip, a little bit of that. Oh, he's fine.
He's moonwalking.
He's fine. It's a good clip from James Palmer there. Retweeted now on the KC Sports Network Twitter account. I'm sure you already saw it by now.
Feels so good. He's going to injure his other ankle.
Yeah. So
just going to get another high ankle sprain. Sure.
Now let's move on to let's talk about the special teams side of the ball.
Yeah.
Because we haven't really talked about the story a whole lot.
There's a little drama here.
There's a little bit of a saga adding another layer, as if this game needed another layer of drama. The Chiefs cut Chris Lammons, waived him. I'm not sure the correct vernacular. I believe it would be released.
Was quite surprising when it happened. They
was
waived
surprising.
him. Yeah.
Yes, they waived him. Don't think he waved back. But when when he was waived, he was claimed by the Cincinnati Bengals. Very interesting. He's not going to be able to play in this game.
I don't think they can contact him until after the Super Bowl.
Right. They can't. This move was like, it was dated after the Super Bowl, February, I believe, 13th or 14th or whatever the last day is. I think it's 13th. That's when the move will go official. So Chris Lammons isn't playing for the rest of the year.
Right.
Is what it comes down to. The Chiefs would have liked to use him. I think Brett Veach might have had a plan there. You can speculate. And
I think what happened is I think they were going to waive him so they could create space for a Jody Fortson. For probably Jody Fortson would be my guess. They were going to try to put him back right on the practice squad immediately, elevate him for the remainder of the playoffs. Like that is like, if I know we're joking about speculating, I think that's the move. Like if some people that may not be like not know that, that's I think what you were looking at. So that was the plan for the Chiefs. I 100% believe. It was surprising when the move happened. The only logical explanation was exactly that, is they were going to try to put him on the practice squad, elevate him for the rest of the season.
And they've got some guys that are not only Jody Fortson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is also in that 21-day practice window that they're going to have to make moves on or put him back on the IR. But special teams coordinator Dave Tobe was at the podium, and he was asked about the Chris Lammons situation. He said, Veach had a plan. It didn't work out, I guess. It's unfortunate for Lammons because now he's not going to get to play. We're going to miss him. No question. He did have the most snaps on the Chiefs of any special teamer.
Right.
And that is a big piece of this, and it is a competitive thing. Obviously, that the Bengals did, and the Bengals were maybe broke an unwritten rule a little bit. But
you don't see teams do that. That's kind of a chump move, if you ask me. That's something that, I think that's just that's just a chump move. Like, I don't know why you would do that. I mean, obviously I know why, but like, it just doesn't seem like you see things like that happen very often. That kind of gamesmanship, that kind of desperation from the Cincinnati Bengals to try to do that, to try to mess with the Chiefs' plans. I mean, good on them for, holding, literally what they're doing is they're holding a player hostage. I don't think they really have a ton of intent on actively trying to have him be part of their program next season. My guess is he's not a Cincinnati. It's like, that Simpsons gif with the old man walking in, putting his hat on, taking the hat off, coming back. That's going to be Chris Lammons' stay in Cincinnati. It's going to be just a quick little, we have signed Chris Lammons. We have waived Chris Lammons. Like, that's what the transaction report's going to look like. And so they've just kind of held a guy hostage. They're not going to let him play. Brett Veach, he took a risk. I mean, maybe he didn't think the risk was going to be a problem, but the Bengals decided to, I don't want to say play dirty. They played by the rules. It's a little desperation, if you ask me.
Well, sometimes you get got, and Brett Veach doesn't get got very often. And this is one of those instances where he might have got. But special teams is going to be a big aspect of this game. Just on all three phases are obviously going to be huge. But special teams coordinator Dave Tobe also talked about the Bengals special teams unit. They've got a really good kicker. They're very well coached. They've been together for a while. They'll make you pay if you're not careful. I believe Isaiah Pacheco had a pretty good kickoff return against this Bengals kickoff unit, so excited to see what he can do. I think the Chiefs did have some special teams gaffes the last time they played against the Bengals. If they can clean those up, should be exciting.
Yeah, this is one of those games where, we talk about everybody elevating the play around Patrick Mahomes to try to support him, but they've got to, that's the good thing about this situation, is like they've got to elevate their play around him, and that includes the special teams units. We're talking about, I'm sure we'll be talking about all kinds of things like ball security, but just not letting that team flip the field. And the truth of the matter is the special teams performance this year has not been great. They've had to lean on a lot of rookies. Like we all know, like, and we talk about Dave Tobe's clear control of the roster, where they're not putting a ton of young developmental talent at the bottom of the roster. Very often they're leaning on the Marcus Kemps and Chris Lammons of the world, rather than, trying to keep a player on the 53-man roster. Well, the byproduct of that has been, there's been some mistakes. There've been some issues on special teams unit. Well, that can't happen. And the thing is, like, this is a thinner group now because Chris Lammons isn't here. Very interestingly enough, they did sign Marcus Kemp last week to the practice squad. That's going to prove to be a pretty valuable ad, I think, because we know he's a trusted member of the special teams, and I would be stunned if he's not elevated for this game and playing, especially with the news on Chris Lammons being a fake Bengal for the next 2 weeks.
As one member of KC Sports Network called a fraud goal.
Yeah, he's a fraud goal.
He's a fraud goal for a little bit.
Yeah, the most fraudulent Bengal ever, because he's not actively a Bengal and probably never will be.
He's a Bengal by title only.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting to think about the special teams. As I mentioned, all three phases are going to be big in this game with the margin of error being so close. The Chiefs kind of are going to have to play really well defensively as well. And that's not a hot take by any stretch of the means. Defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo even said at the podium they've got to play their best game all year to have a good chance to win this game. There's some interesting stuff from Dave Tobe. I thought what stood out to me is he didn't talk specifically about wide receiver cornerback matchups, like in terms of like was L'Jarius Sneed going on Jamar Chase, who's gonna shadow Jamar Chase, because we've seen L'Jarius go into that shadow role a little bit. Are they can still do that? He just said that they're going to mix things up. Yeah. And I think that's going to be big for this Chiefs defense, is to mix things up and just kind of confuse Joe Burrow and everybody on that offense.
Well, and like that's one of the questions that we've kind of had about this defense is we go back to the youth of this defense, right? Yeah. I mean, this is a young group that they've leaned on these rookies in a big way more than any team. I mean, their whole secondary at the end of the Jacksonville game was either new additions to the roster or rookies. Yeah. It was like Justin Reed and a bunch of rookies. And so, like there comes some learning curve with that. And we've talked about some of the static coverage that they've played. I think you saw them starting to mix things up a little bit more last week. Mm-hmm. You saw them. One thing I always lean on with Steve Spagnuolo and I think about is he always talks about how right after the year after the Super Bowl, they had their, April press conferences or whatever. It was their OTA press conferences. And Steve Spagnuolo just talked about how you build from ground zero every year. Doesn't matter that they'd won the Super Bowl. They had a well-established, group. They started at ground zero this year, like they do every single year. And they continue to build and build and build. I think they've been building to these moments. Again, I think they're going to you're right. They're going to have to mix some things up. They're going to have to be a little bit more elaborate with some of their stuff this year or this week against the Bengals, because they've got to mix some things up. They got to create some confusion. They've got to, they got to put some stuff out that they probably haven't shown yet. Right. And so it's time for that trust that they've been working to build for the entirety of the season to kind of finally reveal itself, I think.
Yeah, just looking at some other things that, Steve Spagnuolo did say. He talked about a big focus is going to be getting the ball back, bringing possession back to the offense. They're going to really focus on taking the ball away, getting some turnovers. And also in practices against the scout team, they're making sure they're challenging at the completion point. Jamar Chase last year kind of tore Chiefs up in both matchups. That's an understatement. Yeah. So challenging at the completion point is going to be huge. How the Chiefs try to stifle Jamar Chase. Not only Jamar Chase, but like T. Higgins as well has been playing well. Their receiving core is playing well at the right time. They've also got Justin Reed saying that he's going to let his play do the talking. Good to hear this time around. Make sure he doesn't mix up Tyler Higbee and Hayden Hurst again. So I don't think that'll happen. Higgins, Hurst, yeah. So I'm excited to see what the defense does. I think that's kind of sans the Patrick Mahomes ankle, right? Because I think both you and I think he's going to be fine. And I think both you and I think that this offense might be more normal than we think that people think. Yeah. Sans that storyline, this defense might be the biggest storyline. How the Chiefs defense plays out against Joe Burrow.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like the Bengals present some problems for the Chiefs because the run game has been really good for the Bengals. Mm-hmm. Some diverse looks that they're presenting, like that's going to be a factor. You talk about the it's not just X's and O's though, like the talent that they have. Competing at the catch point, sure. And the good news for the Chiefs is they do have a lot of length at the cornerback position to be able to challenge out there. Mm-hmm. But, it's not just, hey, let's win at the catch point. It's let's tackle. We can't let these short completions that Joe Burrow's gonna throw turn into bigger plays. Because like the way Jamar Chase beat the Chiefs the last time these two teams last season was every way imaginable. Yeah. It was, let's win at the catch point on 4th and 26. Let's catch a drag route and house it. There's only so many of those guys in the league. And they're going to have to, I mean, it's tackle, like it's everything. I know, like, Steve Spagnuolo might place one point of emphasis on winning at the catch point, but man, everything's got to kind of elevate it, because this team will beat you if you don't do the things that are required to just play consistently, tackling,
Absolutely.
winning the catch point, sound and coverage. They're gonna tear you apart, and run fits too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's literally everything. They're gonna test everything about this defense.
Tackling is going to be huge. I think it's going to be huge.
Yep.
If the Chiefs can't tackle on first, bring them down first contact, I think that's going to be big. And a couple more notes that I got from this is from Nate Taylor, the Jerry Sneed on the Trash Talking Bengals. We're not worried about them talking. We're humble. We're coming to play football. Good to see that. And also, Jerry Sneed did have a nose injury after last game. Said he's fine though. Not listed on the Wednesday injury report. Feels okay. I don't remember how.
He was like on the ground for an extended period of time. I thought it was like a shoulder or a collarbone or one of those, and just turns out it's just a nose.
He had a nose, and that was on like a fumble, right? Like he was recovering a fumble or something. Like there was
something like that. It was down close to their goal line. I remember.
Yeah.
But, who knows?
Almost made it. Last thing I want to talk about, you Kent. I've got to talk about Willie Gay, because he was asked about what impresses you about this Bengals offense. He was asked in the locker room, kind of a similar situation to the Justin Reed situation, where he was asked about the Bengals offense. And Willie Gay said nothing. Nothing impresses him about this Bengals offense. Thoughts?
I have absolutely loved every moment of Chiefs Bengals week when it comes to just the level of talking that the Cincinnati Bengals have done.
Yeah.
And I have just loved how silent and quiet it's been on the Chiefs front. I would have just loved there to be no comments whatsoever from the Chiefs.
Yep. And
they just went out and just bopped them, and Eli Apple, just got,
torched.
Well, he's gonna get torched anyway.
He sucks.
I can do the talking.
Yeah,
I can do the talking.
We're
right?
fine. We can do it.
We can do it. Yeah. I wish the Chiefs would have just stayed quiet on it. But look, Zach Taylor and his offense isn't exactly Kyle Shanahan when it comes to the scheme.
Right.
It is a lot of talent, and Joe Burrow just slicing some stuff up. Yeah, there's some diversity in the run game that you got to give him a lot of credit to. Like, I think that's the big thing where you see a lot of it. But I would have really preferred just no words all week, and then just the Bengals getting absolutely humbled. That's my whole hope is I just want to see this. I want to see the Bengals just absolutely humbled this week, all of them, top up, all the way through, all the way up to Mike Brown.
There's never been a team. I mentioned this on Outside the Trenches. I don't think there's ever been a team go from lovable underdog to cocky favorites so quick.
That haven't done anything.
That's also a great point. They went to a Super Bowl. That's it.
Yeah. How'd that go for them?
Didn't win it.
Yeah.
They lost to Stat Padford and then the Rams. So thank you for watching today's edition of KCSN Update. Thank you for Kent for joining us. We'll be here in Vegas for the AFC Championship game. If you are wanting to watch the game with some friendlies, we'll be doing a live watch party at the Blue Wire Studio in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the Wynn Casino. That'll be live on our YouTube channels with the post-game show immediately following. So make sure that you are liking and subscribing to our channel. Find Kent Swanson at Kent_Swanson on Twitter. Mine is at Tucker D. Franklin. If you want to follow me, you don't have to, but make sure to like and subscribe as well, and follow us wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.